Not since 1965, the year of living dangerously, has Indonesia been so close to collapse. A darkness threatens to engulf this nation, a darkness spawned by corruption, abuse of power, and untold greed. This is central Jakarta just days ago. The military, which underpins Suharto's rule, is putting on a massive display of force. As the economic crisis cuts deeper, these soldiers know unrest could break out at any time. There's now a mood of defiance in this nation, and more that defiance is being levelled directly at President Suharto.
I think, I'm sorry to say this to your audience, that Suharto is not the answer. Suharto is not the solution. I think he is the problem, not a part or parcel of the problem, but he is the problem. It's a definite article.
To speak out in such blunt terms is to run the risk of being thrown in jail. But growing numbers of people are now prepared to take that risk. For years, independent trade union leader Mokhtar Pakpahan has been dragged through the courts which do the government's bidding. Arrested in 1994 in the wake of labour riots, he now stands charged with one of the most serious crimes in the land, subversion.
Be very clear, this trial is about trade union rights, it's not about subversion.
Pakpahan is still in detention and now runs his union from this hospital bed.
All the members of my union are suffering, and all the laborers in Indonesia now are suffering too. Because the crisis, because the situation.
Our meeting was bizarre. Guards rested just metres away, unaware their prisoner was conducting an interview on the tumultuous events unfolding outside his hospital cell.
Do you see social unrest occurring?
Yeah, very possible. Very possible this time will produce social unrest. According to my prediction, it can happen after this fasting, after Lebaran.
Facing a possible death penalty if found guilty of subversion and suffering from a lung tumour, Pakpahan still refuses to remain silent.
I had seen the anger, the silent anger of the people, and the focusing of the anger, Suharto's family, Suharto's chronicle. Even though the people couldn't voice frankly and transparently, but 1996, Suharto also arrested me up to now, and he charged me death penalty subversion. Now what happened? What I predict 6 years ago is happening now.
When I arrived in Jakarta in 1993, Suharto was at the height of his power. The ambitious general had transformed himself into the father of development, ruthlessly sidelining political opponents along the way. The economy was growing at a brisk 8% a year, but even so, cracks were beginning to appear in Suharto's so-called new order. More and more, Suharto was turning away from sound economic advice to listen to his palace cronies, people like Research and Technology Minister Yusuf Habibie.
It is not a matter of just making airplane or making ship. It is a matter to answer the question to be or not to be.
When I interviewed him in 1994, Dr. Habibie's passion for high tech became clear from the start. His economic modelling took a little longer to grasp.
B1 is a low density, B2 is a medium density, and B3 is a high density of capital, where capital in my model means...
At the time, I questioned him about the warning bells some economists were already sounding.
But your critics say that Indonesia can't afford high technology industries at this stage of your economic development. They say that you're leapfrogging.
I never do leapfrogging. What I have done is an accelerated evolution.
Dr. Habibie's obsession with high-tech, high-cost industries drained billions of dollars from Indonesia's coffers. It was Habibie who sent the rupiah plummeting to record lows last month when it was hinted that he would become the country's next vice president.
He's an old friend of President Suharto. He's been a loyal friend. He has, over the years, carried out many missions for him. But most investors, most businessmen regard him as irrational. So his appointment as vice president would be a significant blow to confidence.
While the president's cronies prospered, it was Suharto's grasping children, like younger son Tommy, who benefited most from Indonesia's newfound wealth.
If I may say bluntly, a kind of quote-unquote organized crime, conducted by the children of those people who are in power in this country,
As the president's family amassed vast fortunes, they behaved much like the royalty that once ruled over Java. Much of the resentment boiled to the surface 2 years ago in support of an alternative leader. Megawati Soekarno Putri, daughter of Indonesia's first president, stepped into the center of the public stage.
I have the support from the people, so let's the people say what they want to do.
Seen as a threat, the government ousted Megawati from the leadership of the country's Democratic Party and turned on her supporters. It was a watershed, exposing in the crudest of ways the lengths Suharto was prepared to go to crush dissent.
I'm surprised because it really happened. And it happened. The violence, the hard action, to take my headquarters.
The following year, Megawati was banned from participating in elections, but support for her remained high, coming from key quarters like the Muslim community.
I think it's the worst ever during the New Order. The election was not direct, not secret, not free, and not fair and not just. I think there is a very, very spectacular and disgusting manipulation of the election.
Amin Rais is one man who can speak his mind openly. His protection is his popularity. Rais heads the 28 million strong Muslim group Muhammadiyah. Although a religious leader rather than a politician, increasingly he's building up a political support base and even talks of running for president.
I want to break the myth, as if only Suharto was able to be president and nobody else, And then I want to break the myth by putting myself as a candidate,
It's now Chinese New Year, but here in Jakarta's Chinatown, the streets are strangely subdued. There are no public celebrations, no fireworks displays, no dragon dances, none of the sorts of celebrations that mark the beginning of the lunar year elsewhere in the world. Fear of attracting attention has made Indonesia's Chinese cautious even in the safest of times. But now, in the midst of this crisis, it's no exaggeration to say that the Chinese are terrified. But in recent weeks, regular anti-Chinese demonstrations have been staged, which are far from spontaneous. This protest outside a Chinese think tank was highly orchestrated. Many Chinese suspect the government has had a hand in these rallies in a bid to shift some of the blame for the country's economic woes. All this comes at a time when Indonesians are supposed to be celebrating. Literally millions head home for the holidays, marking the end of the Muslim fasting month. But there's little holiday spirit this year. Many can't afford to buy traditional presents. Some aren't going back to their villages because they're simply too ashamed to tell their families they've lost their jobs.
Oleh-olehnya malah nggak dapat oleh-oleh apa-apa. Saya pulang cuma begini doang gitu.
Biasanya gimana Mas kalau?
Biasanya dapat roti, dapat baju, dapat sarung, dapat kaos, dapat hadiah biasanya gitu.
Nanti malu nggak sama keluarganya?
Some, though, can't even afford to go home for the holidays. For them, the currency crisis has been devastating.
Harga-harga dari pasarnya udah naik. Jadi kita jual ya naik lagi. Kalau turun ya diturunin. Namanya udah naik ya dinaikin.
With the construction industry at a standstill, Mariati's husband, Sukyan, now has no job. He's one of more than 1 million unemployed in Greater Jakarta.
Ya, soalnya beda kan begini. Sekarang kan apa-apa susah cari itunya, uangnya. 2 kalinya mau pulang nggak bisa. Jadi buat ongkos itu.
And of course, there's no social welfare. The poor must fend for themselves. Even those who Suharto helped create, the country's middle class, are now daring to speak out. Oriana Shaw is a chemical engineer who runs a mining company. As she welcomes her less well-off neighbours this Lebaran holiday, talk inevitably focuses on the economic crisis.
Tapi sekarang Lebaran sekarang nggak rame ya, sepi sekali.
So far as Oriana is concerned, corruption in her country is careening out of control, as those at the top wantonly abuse their power.
All the people said there is a democracy here, and it is not real democracy. Democracy means people can say anything they want without fear, and for years and years, it's why should for example, why should the student not been able to speak up? That is what do you call it? That is a symptom of no democracy. Why are they scared of it? National dialogue. Why are they worried about it? If they're really right, and if they really know what they are doing, and they know that they're doing right, why they're scared, or why they are not open up for national dialogue, for example?
You sound quite angry about this. You sound very frustrated about it.
Yes, sure, because I see that hypocrisy is surrounding us all the times. We are fooled. I mean, the people are fooled.
It's people like Oriana who are increasingly turning to alternative leaders. Amin Rais and Megawati Sukarno Putri have now joined forces. The strength of their combined voices poses an unprecedented challenge to President Suharto.
The only thing to recover the people trust is only by seeing Suharto stand down. There is no other alternative.
Ramadan is over. Aging and besieged, President Suharto celebrates the end of the fasting month. Thousands of onlookers throng Jakarta's central square, watched over by wary security forces. In the next few weeks, millions will return to Jakarta from their holiday break to unemployment, rising prices and discontent. For 3 decades, Suharto's rule, underpinned by the armed forces, has been based on a clear social contract. In return for development and stability, he's been given almost unfettered power. That contract has now been shattered.